Everyone, today, I want to talk about something that many people face but don't always recognize right away: the tactics used by narcissists when they feel threatened by your strength. Narcissists thrive on control, manipulation, and power. They want to be the center of attention, the ones calling the shots, and the ones who determine how others feel about themselves. But what happens when they come across someone who is strong, someone who refuses to be controlled, manipulated, or diminished? Narcissists thrive on control, and one of their most effective ways to maintain power over others is by undermining confidence. When they encounter someone who is strong, independent, and self assured, they feel threatened. Strength to them is a challenge, something they must dismantle to maintain dominance. Because they cannot directly overpower a confident person, they resort to subtle and insidious tactics designed to chip away at that strength bit by bit. At first, they might seem supportive or even admiring. They might praise your achievements, intelligence, or independence. However, this is often a strategy to gain your trust and access to your vulnerabilities. Once they have established a connection, they gradually introduce doubt into your mind. They don't do this through outright insults or direct attacks, at least not in the beginning. Instead, they use a more deceptive approach: subtle criticism wrapped in concern, backhanded compliments, and carefully planted insecurities. A narcissist might make comments like, "You did well on that project, but I think you got lucky," or "You look great today. I wish you put in that kind of effort all the time." These statements seem harmless on the surface, but they plant tiny seeds of doubt. Over time, these doubts grow, making you question whether your success is truly yours or if you are as capable as you once believed. Another common tactic is shifting the way they react to your achievements. At first, they may seem impressed, even proud of you. But as time goes on, their reactions change. If you receive praise from others, they might downplay it by saying something like, "I mean, it wasn't that hard, right?" Or "I've seen better." If you accomplish something significant, instead of celebrating with you, they might compare it to their own achievements or find ways to make it seem less impressive. They do this because they cannot stand to see you feel confident and secure within yourself. This manipulation is not limited to words. Their body language and behavior also play a role in breaking down your confidence. When you share something you are proud of, they may respond with indifference, acting as if it's not a big deal. A lack of enthusiasm or dismissive attitude can be just as damaging as verbal discouragement. It makes you second guess yourself, wondering if your accomplishments are truly meaningful or if you are overestimating your worth. Another method they use is comparison. They will compare you to others in a way that makes you feel inadequate. Or did you see how well she handled that situation? You should try to be more like that. This kind of remark makes you feel like you are constantly falling short, even when you are doing well. Over time, it leads to an internalized belief that you are never enough, no matter how hard you try. Gaslighting is another tool narcissists use to undermine confidence. They will make you doubt your own memories and perceptions. If you confront them about a hurtful comment they made, they may say, "I never said that," or "You're too sensitive." If you recall an event differently than they do, they might insist you are wrong, making you question your ability to trust your own mind. The more they do this, the more you begin to doubt yourself, leading to a loss of confidence in your own judgment. Over time, these small manipulations accumulate. What was once a strong, confident person begins to hesitate before speaking up. They start questioning their decisions, seeking validation where they never needed it before. They become more anxious, more self-conscious, and less sure of their own worth. This is exactly what the narcissist wants. A confident person is hard to control, but a person filled with self-doubt is much easier to manipulate. When you start noticing this pattern, it is important to take a step back and assess what is happening. Confidence does not disappear overnight. It erodes gradually through repeated exposure to doubt and negativity. Recognizing these tactics is the first step to breaking free from their influence. The best way to counteract this form of manipulation is to reaffirm your own worth and trust yourself. Keep track of your achievements, no matter how small. Surround yourself with people who genuinely support you and remind you of your capabilities. Set firm boundaries and refuse to engage in conversations that make you feel small. A narcissist's power lies in making you question yourself. Once you stop allowing them that power, their ability to undermine you weakens. At the end of the day, your confidence is yours to protect. No one has the right to take it away from you. Stay strong, trust yourself, and never let someone else's insecurities define how you see yourself. When a narcissist realizes that they cannot control you through direct criticism or manipulation, they shift tactics. Instead of attacking you outright, they play the victim. This strategy is highly effective because it preys on your empathy and sense of responsibility. The goal is simple: make you feel guilty for standing your ground, question your own actions, and ultimately submit to their control. At first, their victimhood may appear genuine. They might recall painful past experiences, tell you stories about how they've been mistreated, or emphasize how difficult their life has been. While some of these stories might be true, the way they use them is calculated. They are not sharing for the sake of connection, but rather to create a dynamic where you feel responsible for their emotions. If you are naturally compassionate, this tactic can be highly effective. You don't want to be the reason they feel hurt, and they exploit that kindness to their advantage. The real manipulation begins when they start framing situations in a way that makes you seem like the aggressor. If you call them out on their behavior, they will turn it around to make you feel guilty for even bringing it up. For example, if you confront them about being dismissive or unkind, they might respond with, "I can't believe you would say that to me. After everything I've been through, you think I would try to hurt you?" Suddenly, the focus shifts away from their actions and onto your supposed insensitivity. Instead of addressing the real issue, you find yourself apologizing just to smooth things over. Narcissists are experts at emotional reversals. If you express hurt or disappointment, they will find a way to make themselves the real victim. If you tell them that they have been making you feel unappreciated or belittled, they might respond with, "I guess I can't do anything right. I try my best, but you always find something wrong with me." Now, instead of standing firm in your feelings, you feel bad for making them feel inadequate. This tactic keeps you from holding them accountable, as they make you feel like your expectations are unreasonable or that you are the one causing harm. This victim playing also extends beyond your personal interactions. Narcissists will often try to gain sympathy from others by painting themselves as the person who is suffering. They might tell mutual friends or family members how difficult things have been for them and imply that you have been unfair or harsh. This is done to isolate you and make you doubt your own experiences. If others start believing their version of events, you may begin to wonder if you really are being too hard on them. The more isolated you become, the easier it is for them to regain control. Another variation of this tactic is guilt tripping. If you try to set boundaries, they will make you feel like you are abandoning them. If you say no to something, they will react as if you are being selfish or uncaring. "I thought you cared about me, but I guess I was wrong," they might say. Or, "I would do anything for you, but clearly you don't feel the same." These statements are designed to make you second guess yourself. You might even start compromising your own needs just to avoid feeling like you've let them down. This type of manipulation can be exhausting because it creates an endless cycle of guilt and emotional labor. Every disagreement turns into a crisis where they are the ones who are suffering, and you are the one who must fix it. Bula. Over time, this drains your energy, making you more likely to give in just to keep the peace. You begin to prioritize their emotions over your own, constantly trying to avoid conflict by making sure they are happy. But the truth is, no matter how much you accommodate them, it will never be enough. Their need for control means they will always find a reason to feel wronged, keeping you trapped in an endless loop of trying to prove your loyalty and care. Recognizing this pattern is the first step to breaking free from it. The moment you realize that their suffering is often exaggerated or used as a tool, you begin to take back your power. It's important to remind yourself that setting boundaries is not cruel. Saying no is not an attack. Prioritizing your well-being does not mean you don't care. These are all things a narcissist will try to convince you of, but they are not true. The best way to counteract this tactic is to remain firm in your decisions. When they try to guilt trip you, resist the urge to over-explain or justify yourself. And simply state your boundary and hold your ground. When they twist situations to make you feel guilty, remind yourself that their feelings are not your responsibility. You are allowed to have needs, opinions, and limits. It is also essential to surround yourself with people who see through the manipulation. When you have a strong support system, it becomes easier to stay grounded in reality. The more you reinforce your self-worth and independence, the less power they have over you. In the end, a narcissist's greatest fear is losing control. When playing the victim no longer works, they will either escalate their tactics or begin to withdraw. Either way, the best response is the same. Stand firm, trust yourself, and refuse to be manipulated into guilt for simply protecting your own peace. Narcissists thrive on control and manipulation, and one of the most powerful tools they use is isolation. They know that a strong, independent person surrounded by a support system is much harder to manipulate. When they see that you have close friends, family members, or even colleagues who provide encouragement and validation, they perceive it as a threat. Their goal is to weaken your foundation by systematically cutting you off from the people who care about you the most. At first, this process can be so subtle that you don't even realize it's happening. They don't start by outright demanding that you stop talking to certain people. Instead, they plant small seeds of doubt. They may make casual comments about your friends or family, subtly implying that these people are not truly on your side. "I don't think your friend really supports you," they might say, or "I just get a weird vibe from them." Over time, these comments add up, making you second-guess the relationships you once trusted. Another method they use is creating conflict between you and the people closest to you. They might tell you that someone was talking behind your back or that your family doesn't really respect your choices. These lies are designed to make you feel betrayed so that you naturally pull away from those who would otherwise protect you from the narcissist's influence. Even if you don't completely cut ties, the narcissist ensures that there is tension in those relationships, making you feel like you can't fully rely on anyone except them. In some cases, they take a more direct approach by playing the victim and making it seem like your loved ones are against them, closer against them. They might say things like, "I don't feel comfortable around your friends," or "your family doesn't like me, and it's really hard for me." This puts you in a difficult position, forcing you to choose between keeping the peace with the narcissist and maintaining your relationships. Because you care about their feelings, you might start limiting your time with friends and family to avoid upsetting them. Before you know it, your world begins to revolve around the narcissist, and the people who once provided you with strength and support feel further away. Another way narcissists isolate their targets is by monopolizing their time and energy. They create situations that require constant attention, sudden crises, emotional breakdowns, or unexpected conflicts that make it difficult for you to prioritize anything else. If you make plans with a friend, they might suddenly have an emergency that requires your help. If you try to spend time with family, they might accuse you of neglecting them or not caring about their needs. Over time, you begin to cancel plans or avoid making them altogether because dealing with their reaction feels like too much stress. Social media and communication technology also become tools for isolation. If they feel threatened by your interactions online, they might try to control your social media activity. They may insist that you remove certain people, guilt trip you about liking someone's post, or constantly monitor who you are talking to. If they feel like they can't directly control you, they might instead create drama, posting vague status updates, making passive-aggressive comments, or even reaching out to your friends in an attempt to turn them against you. Workplace isolation is another tactic they may use if they are in a position to do so. If the narcissist is a romantic partner, they might discourage you from spending time with colleagues or pursuing career opportunities that could lead to independence. How? If they are a boss or coworker, they might spread rumors, sabotage your relationships with colleagues, or create an environment where you feel unsupported. The goal is always the same: to make you feel alone so that they have the most influence over your thoughts and emotions. The psychological impact of isolation can be devastating. When you are cut off from external support, you start to rely more heavily on the narcissist for validation. Your self-worth becomes entangled with their approval because they have successfully removed other sources of encouragement. You may also feel trapped, believing that you have nowhere else to turn if you were to leave the situation. This is exactly where they want you, completely dependent on them for emotional, social, and even financial stability. Breaking free from this cycle requires recognizing the tactics at play and actively rebuilding your connections. The first step is to identify when and how you have been isolated. Ask yourself, who are the people I used to turn to before this relationship? Have I distanced myself from friends or family because of things the narcissist has said or done? Have I changed my behavior to avoid conflict with them at the expense of my personal relationships? Once you identify the ways you have been isolated, it is important to start reconnecting with those you trust. This can be difficult because the narcissist may have convinced you that those people don't care or that they have betrayed you. However, reaching out and rebuilding those relationships can remind you that you are not alone. True friends and family will understand and support your journey back to independence. It is also essential to set boundaries with the narcissist. They will likely push back, sensing that they are losing control. They may try to guilt trip you, create drama, or escalate their manipulation to keep you from reconnecting with others. Standing firm in your decision to rebuild your social support is crucial. The more you resist their control, the weaker their influence becomes. But healing from isolation takes time, but it is necessary to regain your confidence and sense of self. You deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift you, respect you, and genuinely care about your well-being. No one has the right to control who you interact with or make you feel like you have to choose between your relationships and their approval. The strongest thing you can do is reclaim your independence and refuse to let someone else dictate who belongs in your life. Narcissists use love and affection as powerful tools of control. When they see you as strong and independent, they recognize that they cannot easily manipulate you through direct criticism or intimidation. Instead, they adopt a more calculated approach, offering love and approval when you comply with their expectations and withdrawing it when you assert yourself. This pattern of conditional affection creates a cycle where you constantly seek their validation, making it easier for them to maintain dominance over you. At the beginning of the relationship, whether romantic, familial, or even in friendships, a narcissist often showers you with love, admiration, and attention. This phase, sometimes referred to as love bombing, makes you feel special, valued, and deeply connected. They may frequently compliment you, express admiration for your strengths, and make you feel like the most important person in their life. This overwhelming affection serves a strategic purpose. It establishes a strong emotional attachment, making it harder for you to notice the warning signs of manipulation later on. Once they have you emotionally invested, they begin to shift their behavior. The love and affection that once felt unconditional start to come with strings attached. They subtly change their responses to your actions, rewarding behaviors that benefit them and punishing those that threaten their control. If you agree with their opinions, prioritize their needs, or allow them to make decisions for you, they reinforce this behavior with compliments, affection, or even gifts. However, if you question them, assert your independence, or set boundaries, they withdraw their warmth and become cold, dismissive, or even cruel. This inconsistent affection creates emotional confusion. One moment, they make you feel cherished, and the next, they act as if you are a burden or disappointment. You may begin to wonder what you did wrong, blaming yourself for their sudden change in behavior. Because you have already experienced the good side of them, you hold on to the hope that if you just act the right way, you can bring that version of them back. This keeps you trapped in a cycle of seeking their approval, adjusting your behavior to win back their love, and ultimately giving them more control over your emotions. One of the most painful aspects of this manipulation is that it makes you doubt your own sense of self-worth. When love and affection are used as a bargaining tool, you start associating your value with how much you please them. If they withhold kindness, you might believe it's because you are not good enough. This psychological conditioning can make it incredibly difficult to recognize that their behavior is not a reflection of your worth, but rather a tactic they use to maintain control. Narcissists are also experts at using affection as a way to reel you back in after a conflict. If you begin to distance yourself or express unhappiness, they might suddenly become loving and attentive again. They might apologize, promise to change, or act as if they finally understand your concerns. However, this is rarely genuine. It is simply a tactic to keep you from leaving or questioning their control. As soon as they feel secure again, they return to their old ways, continuing the cycle of conditional love. Another layer of this manipulation is their ability to make you feel guilty for wanting consistency and respect. If you express that their withdrawal of affection is hurtful, they may accuse you of being too needy or overly sensitive. They might say, "I can't always be perfect," or "you're expecting too much from me." By shifting the blame onto you, they make it seem as if you are the problem for wanting stability in the relationship. This further conditions you to accept their behavior and suppress your own emotional needs. Breaking free from this cycle requires recognizing that real love and affection should not be conditional. True, healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, consistency, and care that do not fluctuate based on control. If you find yourself constantly trying to earn someone's approval or feeling anxious about whether they will treat you kindly on any given day, it is a sign that they are manipulating your emotions. Reclaiming your strength means setting boundaries and refusing to let someone dictate your self-worth as someone dictate your. It means recognizing that you do not have to earn love. It should be given freely, without conditions. If someone only treats you well when it benefits them, they are not offering real love, but rather a form of emotional control. One of the most effective ways to break this pattern is to detach from their validation. Stop seeking their approval as proof of your worth. Instead, focus on building your confidence through your own achievements, supportive relationships, and self-acceptance. The less power they have over your emotions, the weaker their manipulation becomes. Ultimately, a narcissist's love is not real love. It is a weapon disguised as affection. Once you recognize this, you can step out of their control and into a life where you are valued for who you truly are, not for how well you cater to someone else's demands. When a narcissist sees you as too strong to manipulate easily, they often resort to playing mind games. These psychological tactics are designed to create confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion, making it easier for them to control you. Because they cannot overpower you directly, they use subtle yet damaging methods to wear you down, ensuring that you begin to question your own perceptions, emotions, and even your reality. One of the most common mind games they use is gaslighting. This involves distorting the truth to make you doubt yourself. If you confront them about something they said or did, they might flat out deny it ever happened. "I never said that," or "you must be imagining things," are phrases they use to make you feel like you're losing your grip on reality. Over time, this tactic erodes your confidence in your own memory and judgment, making you more likely to rely on them for clarity. The more they can make you doubt yourself, the more control they gain over your thoughts and decisions. Another psychological trick narcissists use is giving you mixed signals. One moment they might be warm, charming, and full of praise, and the next they become cold, distant, or critical. This emotional whiplash keeps you in a state of uncertainty, always trying to figure out what you did wrong to cause their shift in behavior. The inconsistency is intentional. It keeps you emotionally invested in seeking their approval, making you work harder to please them in hopes of regaining their affection. Silent treatment is another powerful mind game. When a narcissist feels like they are losing control over you, they may suddenly stop talking to you or withdraw emotionally without explanation. This creates anxiety, as you are left wondering what you did to upset them. You may start overanalyzing every interaction, desperately trying to fix something that was never really broken. The silent treatment is designed to make you crave their attention and do whatever it takes to restore communication, reinforcing their dominance over your emotions. Projection is another common tactic. Instead of taking responsibility for their actions, a narcissist will accuse you of the very things they are guilty of. If they are being dishonest, they might accuse you of lying. If they are being manipulative, they may call you controlling. This not only shifts the blame away from them, but also puts you on the defensive, making you feel like you have to justify yourself. In doing so, they successfully distract you from their behavior and keep you focused on proving your innocence. Another mind game they play is triangulation, where they bring a third party into the dynamic to create insecurity and competition. For example, they might compare you to someone else, an ex-partner, a friend, or even a stranger, to make you feel inadequate. And use, can't you be more like them? Or they understand me better than you do, are phrases used to make you feel like you need to compete for their approval. This keeps you in a state of emotional dependence, always striving to prove your worth. Narcissists also use guilt and obligation as weapons. They frame themselves as the victim and make you feel responsible for their happiness. If you set a boundary, they may act as if you are being selfish or uncaring. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me, is a phrase designed to make you feel indebted to them. This guilt trip manipulates you into bending to their will, even when it goes against your own well-being. Another sinister mind game is future faking. They make grand promises about the future to keep you hooked. Whether in a romantic relationship, friendship, or workplace setting, they may say things like, things will be better soon, or I just need a little more time. These empty promises keep you waiting for something that will never come. They dangle the idea of a better future in front of you to keep you invested, preventing you from walking away. Breaking free from these mind games requires awareness and self-trust. The first step is recognizing these tactics for what they are: manipulation designed to control and weaken you. Once you understand the pattern, it becomes easier to detach emotionally from their games. Establishing strong boundaries is essential. When a narcissist attempts to gaslight you, stand firm in your truth. If they give you the silent treatment, resist the urge to chase after them. When they project their faults onto you, refuse to take the blame for something you didn't do. The more you enforce boundaries, the less power they have over you. It is also important to rebuild your confidence and sense of reality. Keep a journal of interactions so that you have tangible proof of what was said and done. Surround yourself with supportive people who can provide perspective and remind you of your worth. The more you strengthen your own sense of self, the less susceptible you are to their psychological manipulation. At the core of their mind games is a fear of losing control. They rely on confusion, guilt, and insecurity to maintain their dominance, but once you see through their tactics, their power diminishes. When you refuse to engage in their games, you take back your strength. You remind yourself that your thoughts, emotions, and reality are valid, no matter how much they try to distort them. The greatest victory over a narcissist is to no longer be affected by their manipulation, to stand firm in who you are, and refuse to be played like a pawn in their game. When a narcissist sees you as too strong to control, they often resort to playing the victim. This is one of their most deceptive and manipulative tactics because it allows them to shift blame, avoid responsibility, and gain sympathy from others. By portraying themselves as the one who has been wronged, they can make you feel guilty, undermine your confidence, and even turn people against you. This strategy is designed to break you down emotionally, making you more likely to surrender to their control. At first, this victim act may seem subtle. They might exaggerate minor inconveniences, claiming that they are always misunderstood, mistreated, or unappreciated. They use self-pity as a weapon, making it seem as if they are constantly suffering due to the actions of others. If you set boundaries, speak up for yourself, or challenge their behavior, they twist the situation to make it look like you are the aggressor and they are the innocent party. One of the most effective ways narcissists play the victim is by rewriting history. If you confront them about something hurtful they did, they flip the narrative. Suddenly, they are the ones who have been hurt, and you are the one being unfair or cruel. If they insulted you, they claim it was just a joke and that you are too sensitive. If they broke your trust, they say it was because you pushed them away. They take the actual harm they inflicted and make it seem as though they were the real victim all along. This tactic can be especially damaging because it creates self-doubt. You may start questioning your own memory and emotions. Did you overreact? Were you being too harsh? Could you have handled things differently? The more they convince you that they are the victim, the more likely you are to second-guess yourself and give in to their demands. This weakens your ability to stand up to them, making it easier for them to regain control. Another way they play the victim is by using guilt to manipulate you. They may remind you of everything they have supposedly done for you, making it seem as if you owe them. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? is a common phrase they use to make you feel ungrateful or even cruel for asserting yourself. They make you feel like you are the problem, that your independence or strength is hurting them, when in reality, they are simply trying to keep you under their control. They also use their supposed suffering to gain support from others. If they feel like they are losing control over you, they may seek out mutual friends, family members, or colleagues to tell their version of the story. They paint themselves as the victim, describing how difficult you have been, how much they have tried, and how much they are hurting because of you. This manipulation serves two purposes. It turns others against you and isolates you from your support system. You may start noticing people treating you differently, believing the narcissist's lies instead of understanding the truth. This false victimhood can also take the form of exaggerating their personal struggles. If they feel you are pulling away, they might suddenly become overwhelmed with stress, illness, or personal crisis that demand your attention. They use their suffering as a way to pull you back in, making you feel responsible for their well-being. They want you to feel guilty for prioritizing yourself, so you will refocus your energy on them instead of maintaining your independence. Another dangerous aspect of this manipulation is that it can make you feel like you are the narcissist. Because they constantly accuse you of mistreating them, you might start believing that you are the one who is in the wrong. If they tell you that you are being selfish, unkind, or controlling, you may begin to doubt yourself, questioning whether you are actually the problem. This is a deliberate tactic to break your confidence and keep you in a state of emotional confusion. Breaking free from this manipulation requires understanding that their victim act is not genuine. It is a strategy designed to make you feel guilty, confused, and isolated. Recognizing the pattern allows you to detach emotionally and see their behavior for what it is, a means of control. Setting firm boundaries is essential. When they play the victim to manipulate you, refuse to engage in their guilt trips. You do not have to justify your choices or allow them to twist the truth. If they try to make you feel responsible for their suffering, remind yourself that their emotions are not your burden to carry. Another important step is to trust your own reality. When they try to rewrite history, hold on to what you know to be true. Keep a journal of interactions if needed, so you have a record of their manipulations. Surround yourself with people who genuinely support you and can help remind you of the reality of the situation. Finally, it is crucial to remember that you are not responsible for fixing them. Narcissists play the victim because they want attention, control, and power over your emotions. But you are not obligated to sacrifice your well-being for someone who refuses to take accountability for their actions. The strongest thing you can do is walk away from their manipulation and reclaim your peace. By refusing to buy into their false victimhood, you take back your power. You recognize that their suffering is not your responsibility, that their lies do not define you, and that you deserve relationships based on truth, respect, and genuine care, not guilt and manipulation.